Imagine waking up tomorrow, and you're a Roman soldier. No phone, no comfort, no escape. Let's see if you'd survive one day. This story is created by FMTJ, where history comes to life.
You think you could survive as a Roman legionary? You couldn't even make it through breakfast. What you imagine as ancient glory was actually systematic brutality, and the Romans designed every single hour to break ordinary people. Let me take you back 2,000 years. Picture this. It's 4 a.m, and it's still pitch black outside. You're not waking up in a bed. You're on the ground, packed shoulder to shoulder with 7 other men in a leather tent that reeks of sweat, dirt, and things we won't discuss. There's no pillow. Your head rested on your military pack all night, which contains everything you own in the world. The temperature dropped below freezing overnight, but your blanket is a single woolen cloak that's supposed to serve as your jacket, your raincoat, and your bedding. A centurion is already screaming outside. You have exactly 0 time to feel groggy or wish for 5 more minutes. That's not how this works. The moment you hear that voice, you're moving. Because if you're not outside, standing in formation within minutes, you'll be beaten. Not punished later. Beaten right then, in front of everyone. You stumble out into the freezing darkness. Your body aches everywhere. Your feet are already bleeding into your caligy, those leather sandals that offer about as much protection as modern flip-flops. You've been marching 20 miles a day, every day, carrying 70 pounds of equipment. Your shoulders are raw from the pack straps. Your lower back feels like someone's driving a spike through it. But here's what nobody tells you about Roman military life. The physical pain isn't even the worst part. It's the relentless, suffocating control over every breath you take. The Roman army didn't just want your service. They wanted to completely dismantle who you were and rebuild you as a component of their war machine. You're not a person anymore. You're a weapon that needs maintenance. Morning inspection begins before the sun rises. You're standing there in the cold while a centurion walks down the line, examining every man. Your armor better be clean. Your weapons better be sharp. Your face better be shaved. Yes, shaved. Every single day. With a bronze razor that's about as sharp as a butter knife. One guy in your tent unit forgot yesterday. He's got a split lip now, and he'll be doing double duty tonight. The centurion stops in front of you. He's looking for any excuse. A spot of rust on your gladius, a loose strap on your segmented armor, dirt under your fingernails. These men are professional fault finders, and their job is to make your life miserable until you're too terrified to make mistakes. He moves on. You exhaled, but you can't relax. Now comes breakfast, which is where I promised you wouldn't survive. You're getting grain. Just grain. It's your job to grind it into flour, mix it with water, and cook it into something resembling food. No sugar. No salt unless you bought it yourself. No meat unless it's a special occasion. Or you manage to hunt something during one of your 3-hour lunch breaks that happen maybe twice a month. This grain is your life now. Wheat or barley turned into a porridge that has the consistency of wet cement and tastes like absolutely nothing. You'll eat the same meal twice a day, every day, for your entire 25-year enlistment. 25 years. Let that sink in. But you're thinking, surely they fed the soldiers well, right? These are the men conquering the world. Wrong. The Roman army ran on the cheapest possible fuel. You got enough calories to function, barely. Malnutrition was standard. Scurvy was common. Dental problems plagued everyone because the grain was ground with stone mills that left tiny rock particles in the flour. and every meal slowly ground your teeth down to nubs. You're trying to choke down this flavorless sludge when the call comes. Time to march. Here's something they don't show you in the movies. Before you can march anywhere, you have to build the camp. Not the one you're in now. That one's already built. I'm talking about tonight's camp, which means you need to carry the materials to build it. Right now, on your back. Your personal load includes your armor, your helmet, your shield, 2 javelins, a gladius sword, a dagger, a pickaxe, a basket for moving earth, a length of rope, several wooden stakes for fortifications, 3 days of rations, a cooking pot, and your personal items. The Roman military historian Josephus calculated this at around 70 pounds, but modern reconstructions suggest it was closer to 90 pounds, in leather sandals, for 20 miles. The sun's up now, and it's getting hot. You're sweating inside your armor, which is basically metal plates tied together with leather straps. It pinches, it rubs, it creates pressure points that turn into open sores if you're not careful. The weight distribution is terrible because everything's hanging off your shoulders and waist. Your feet are screaming. Those caligae I mentioned, they're actually brilliant engineering for their time, with hobnails on the bottom for traction. But they're open-toed. You're walking through mud, rocks, thorns, everything. One guy just stepped on something sharp, and now he's limping, but he can't stop. If you fall behind the formation, you're flogged. We're 1 hour into the march. You've got at least 5 more to go. The column stretches for miles. Thousands of men moving in organized units with cavalry scouts ahead and baggage trains behind. The dust is unbelievable. You're breathing dirt with every step. It coats your throat, gets in your eyes, mixes with your sweat to create a paste on your skin. Nobody's talking. Conversation in ranks is forbidden unless an officer asks you a direct question. You march in silence except for the sound of thousands of hobnailed sandals hitting the ground in rhythm, the creaking of leather, the occasional barked order from a centurion. Your mind starts to wander. You think about home. Maybe you had a farm before you enlisted. Maybe you had a trade. It doesn't matter now. You signed up for 25 years, and you're only in year 2. 23 more years of this. Why did you even join? The pay sounded good at the time. Roman legionaries earned 225 denarii per year under Augustus. That's actually decent money, except they deduct your food costs, and your equipment costs, and your burial fund contribution, and the bribes you have to pay centurions to avoid the worst duties. By the time all the deductions hit, you're left with maybe a third of that original salary. You couldn't afford to buy your way out even if they let you, which they don't. The march continues. The sun's directly overhead now. It's brutally hot. Your water ration is limited because water is heavy and you're already carrying too much. You get a drink at designated stops, not whenever you're thirsty. Some guys are falling out with heat exhaustion. The medics will get them, eventually. Maybe. Hour 4. Your legs are numb. You're not even thinking anymore, just putting one foot in front of the other in a kind of trance state. This is what they want. They're not just moving you from place to place. They're breaking down your individual will and replacing it with automatic obedience. Finally, the call comes to halt. You've reached tonight's campsite. Now the real work begins. Every single evening, the Roman army builds a fortified camp from scratch. Not a simple camp. A proper fortress with ditches, ramparts, gates, and internal streets laid out in a standardized grid. This isn't optional. This is doctrine. Whether you're stopping for 1 night or 6 months, you build the full fortification. You drop your pack and grab your pickaxe. The surveyors have already marked out where the defenses go. Your sentry is responsible for this section of the perimeter ditch. It needs to be 6 feet deep and 8 feet wide. The dirt you dig out gets piled up behind the ditch to form a rampart. On top of that rampart, you'll plant the wooden stakes you've been carrying. You start digging. Your hands are already blistered from yesterday. The pickaxe handle rubs them raw again. Swing, lift, throw, swing, lift, throw. The sun's still beating down. You're exhausted from the march. Your rations are almost gone and you haven't eaten since that morning gruel. This goes on for hours. The entire legion is working simultaneously. Thousands of men digging, hauling, building. The efficiency is actually remarkable. A Roman legion could build a fortified camp for 5,000 men in under 3 hours when they needed to. But you're not admiring the efficiency. You're just trying to survive until dinner, which will be the same grain porridge you had for breakfast. You finish your section of the ditch just as darkness falls. Your back is screaming. Your hands are bleeding through the blisters. But there's no rest yet. Now you have to set up your leather tent, the one you share with 7 other men from your contubernium. 8 men, 1 tent. You'll be sleeping shoulder to shoulder with guys who haven't bathed in weeks. The tent goes up quickly because you've done this hundreds of times. You lay out your bedroll, which is just a thin blanket over bare ground. Some guys have small personal items, a letter from home, a good luck charm. You have nothing. You sold everything for drinking money 2 camps ago. Dinner is finally served. Same grain porridge, but this time with a tiny piece of salted pork mixed in. It's a feast by legionary standards. You eat it mechanically, too tired to taste anything. Around you, men are talking, joking, complaining, the usual banter. You don't join in, you just want to sleep. But even now, there are duties, guard rotations, equipment maintenance. Your armor needs oiling or it'll rust. Your sword needs sharpening. Your boots need checking for wear. You do it all in a fog of exhaustion, going through motions you could do in your sleep. Finally, you collapse onto your bedroll. 7 other bodies press in around you in the cramped tent. Someone's snoring already. Someone else is muttering in their sleep. The ground is hard and uneven. Your muscles are knotted with fatigue. This is your life now. This is every single day. And tomorrow, you'll wake up before dawn and do it all again. The morning horn sounds while it's still pitch black. You're on your feet immediately because hesitation earns you a centurion's vine stick across your back. Everyone's moving in the darkness, taking down tents, packing gear, filling in the ditches you dug yesterday. Yes, filling them in. You built an entire fortress, and now you're erasing it because the Legion is moving again. Within 2 hours, there's no trace you were ever here. The Roman army leaves nothing behind that an enemy could use. The march resumes. Same formation, same pace, same crushing weight on your shoulders. Except today you're even more exhausted than yesterday. And tomorrow you'll be worse still. This is the grind. This is what breaks men, not battles, not enemies. Just the relentless, brutal routine of military life. Your century marches for 6 more days like this, building camps every evening, tearing them down every morning, marching 15 miles in between. On the 7th day, you reach your destination. It's not a temporary camp this time. It's a permanent fortress on the edge of the empire. This is your new home for the next 2 years. The fortress is enormous. Stone walls 30 feet high. Guard towers at regular intervals. Barracks laid out in perfect rows. Granaries, workshops, headquarters, temples, hospitals. It's a fully functional city. built entirely by soldiers like you. You'll be living here, training here, and occasionally marching out to remind the local tribes why they pay their taxes to Rome. Your century is assigned to a barracks block. It's a long stone building divided into small rooms, one room per contubernium. Your room is maybe 12 feet by 12 feet. 8 men will eat, sleep, and store all their equipment in this space. There are no beds. You sleep on the floor. There's no privacy. There's barely room to turn around. But compared to sleeping in a tent on frozen ground, this is luxury. Your first week at the fortress is orientation. You learn where everything is. You learn the duty rosters. You learn which centurions are reasonable and which ones are sadistic. You learn that the water tastes like iron and the latrines smell worse than death. Then training resumes. Every single day, even in a permanent posting, legionaries train. Fighting drills with wooden swords against posts, formation practice, javelin throwing, route marches with full pack, swimming in full armor, building practice fortifications, mock battles between centuries. The Roman army doesn't stay sharp by accident. It stays sharp through endless, repetitive training that turns techniques into reflexes. You're drilling with your gladius, the short sword every legionary carries. Thrust, withdraw, thrust, withdraw, hundreds of repetitions. Your instructor walks behind you, correcting your form, occasionally whacking you with his stick when you get sloppy. The gladius isn't for slashing, it's for stabbing. Quick, brutal thrusts to the gut or throat. The shield protects you while you work in close. It's efficient. It's deadly. And it only works if every man in the formation does exactly the same thing at exactly the same time. That's the secret of Roman military success. It's not individual heroics. It's 8,000 men functioning as a single weapon. Your personal courage doesn't matter. Your individual skill doesn't matter. What matters is whether you can hold your position in the line and do your job while the man next to you does his. The training is interrupted by work details. Even in peacetime, soldiers work constantly, repairing roads, building bridges, constructing aqueducts, quarrying stone, logging timber. The Roman Empire is built as much by military labor as by military conquest. You're not just a soldier. You're a construction worker, an engineer, a laborer, and you don't get paid extra for any of it. 3 months into your posting, your century gets assigned to a patrol. There's been raiding across the frontier. Some local tribe has decided they don't want to pay tribute this year. Your job is to march into their territory, find their villages, and remind them what happens when you defy Rome. You march out at dawn, 60 men in full battle gear. The weight is familiar now. You've carried this load so many times that your body has adapted. You're harder than you were 6 months ago, leaner, stronger. The soft civilian you used to be is gone completely. The patrol lasts 3 weeks. You march through forests and across rivers. You sleep in temporary camps. You see villages in the distance, smoke rising from their cooking fires. Sometimes the villagers see you coming and flee. Sometimes they stand and watch, silent and resentful. You don't engage with them. That's not your mission. Your mission is just to be seen, to remind them that Rome is always watching, always present. On the 18th day, you find what you're looking for. A war band, maybe 50 warriors, caught in the open between villages. Your centurion doesn't hesitate. He gives the order, and your century forms up instantly. Shield wall. 3 ranks deep. Javelins ready. The enemy warriors are shouting, working themselves up for the fight. They're brave. They're probably skilled fighters individually. It doesn't matter. They're not organized. They don't have armor. They're going to die. Your centurion gives the signal. The first rank throws javelins. 40 iron-tipped projectiles arc through the air and slam into the enemy formation. Men go down screaming. The second rank throws. More men fall. Now the range is close enough that you can see their faces. Some look terrified. Some look defiant. All of them are about to learn what Roman discipline means. The order comes to advance. Your century moves forward as one unit, shields locked, swords ready. The enemy warriors charge. They crash into your shield wall like a wave hitting a cliff. The impact staggers you, but the men behind you brace you up. You thrust your gladius through the gap between shields, feel it punch into flesh, withdraw it instantly. Thrust again. Withdraw, thrust, withdraw, exactly like training. The man in front of you collapses. You step forward over his body. The shield wall advances. More warriors throw themselves at your formation. More of them die. They're fighting as individuals, each man trying to prove his courage. You're fighting as a machine, each component doing exactly its programmed function. It's over in minutes. 50 enemy warriors dead or dying. Your century has 3 wounded, none seriously. That's the math of professional soldiers versus tribal warriors. That's why Rome rules the world. You clean your sword on a dead man's clothes. Your hands aren't shaking. You don't feel much of anything. This is just work. Brutal, bloody work, but still just work. You've already stopped thinking about the faces of the men you killed. They're just problems that have been solved. Your century marches back to the fortress. The patrol was a success. The local tribes will hear about this. They'll pay their tribute. Peace, Roman style, will continue. Back at the fortress, life resumes its normal rhythm. Training, work details, guard duty. Days blur together. You've been a legionary for 2 years now. 23 more to go. You've learned to stop counting the years. It makes the time pass easier. Instead, you count seasons, count campaigns, count the scars accumulating on your arms and legs. A messenger arrives from Rome. New orders. Your legion is being redeployed. Germania, the northern frontier where the forests are so thick that daylight barely reaches the ground, where the tribes are fiercer and the weather can kill you as easily as an enemy blade. The entire legion packs up. 40 centuries, 5,000 men, all their equipment and supplies. It takes a week just to organize the march. You've never seen a logistical operation this massive. Pack animals, wagons, mobile forges, medical supplies, months of grain. A Roman legion doesn't just march, it brings civilization with it. The journey north takes 40 days. You march in formation, 20 miles per day, as regular as sunrise. Through Gaul, past Roman towns that look almost like home, then gradually into wilder country. The roads get worse, the settlements get smaller, the forests get darker. You cross the Rhine on a pontoon bridge that engineers construct in 2 days. On the far side, you're in barbarian country. Real barbarian country, not the pacified provinces you've been stationed in. You can feel it. The air is different, colder. The trees press in on both sides of the road like they're trying to reclaim it. At night, you hear wolves howling. Sometimes you hear other things, sounds you can't identify. Your legion establishes a new fortress. Same design as every other Roman fort. Square walls, 4 gates, streets laid out in a grid. Within 3 weeks, there's a permanent camp that could withstand a siege. That's what discipline builds. The locals watch from the forest. You rarely see them clearly, just shadows moving between trees. But you know they're always there, always watching, waiting. The campaigns here are different. In the south, you fought quick, brutal engagements and then returned to the fortress. Here, you're in the field for months, living in temporary camps, pushing deeper into forests where the trees are so tall and so dense that it feels like being underwater. Your century marches in column, shields up, every man watching the forest on both sides. Ambushes are constant. The Germanic tribes don't fight pitched battles. They hit you when you're strung out on a forest path. They loose arrows from the trees. They vanish before you can form up properly. You lose men. Not many, but steadily. One here, two there. A scouting party that doesn't return. A foraging detail caught too far from the main column. The forest swallows them and you never find the bodies. This isn't clean warfare. This is slow attrition. The enemy you're fighting isn't trying to defeat you in battle. They're trying to bleed you until you give up and go home. But Rome doesn't give up. Rome doesn't go home. Your legion builds roads deeper into the forest, establishes supply depots, burns villages, the standard procedure. The tribes pull back, then return when you leave. You burn the villages again. It's pointless, and everyone knows it. But orders are orders. Winter arrives, and it's worse than anything you experienced in the south. Snow piles up to your knees. The cold finds every gap in your clothing. Men lose fingers and toes to frostbite. Training continues. Guard duty continues. You stand on the fortress walls in the dark, ice forming in your beard, watching the forest and seeing nothing. Hours pass like years. Your hands go numb even inside gloves. This is when you really understand what it means to be a legionary. Anyone can fight when the blood is hot and the battle is raging. Standing on a frozen wall at midnight when nothing is happening, that's the real test. Most of your century passes it. A few don't. They desert, slip away in the night. You never hear what happens to them. Maybe they make it back to civilization. Probably the forest gets them. Either way, they're gone. Spring comes, and the campaigns resume. Your cohort is assigned to escort a supply train, 200 wagons loaded with grain and weapons moving through hostile territory. It's a massive target, and everyone knows it. The march takes 10 days. Every mile you expect an attack. The forest presses in on both sides of the road. Perfect ambush country. On the 7th day, they hit you. Not the supply train itself, but the rear guard. You hear the shouting, the screams. Your century doubles back at a run. You find chaos. Germanic warriors pouring out of the forest, already among the wagons, killing drivers and guards. Your centurion doesn't slow down. He leads your century straight into them, shield wall intact even at a run. You hit the enemy formation like a battering ram. The impact knocks you back 2 steps, but the men behind you drive forward. Shields locked, you push into them. It's not elegant. It's a grinding, shoving fight in the mud between burning wagons. You can't see more than 5 feet in any direction. Smoke everywhere, screaming everywhere. You just keep your shield up and your sword moving. Thrust, withdraw, step forward, thrust again. The enemy breaks. They fade back into the forest. Your century doesn't pursue. That's how you die in Germania, chasing warriors into the trees. You regroup, count the dead. 12 legionaries killed, maybe 30 wounded, 40 wagons destroyed. Could have been worse. Your hands are shaking now. Not from fear, just from the adrenaline draining away. You sit on the ground and drink from your canteen. Around you, men are doing the same. Nobody speaks. There's nothing to say. This is just another day on the frontier. The supply train limps forward. You reach the destination fortress 3 days later, unload what's left of the supplies, rest for 2 days. Then you're back out on patrol. The rhythm never stops. March, fight, march, build camp, march again. Your 4th year in the legions ends, then your 5th. You've been promoted twice. You're an immune now, exempt from regular duties, assigned to specialized work. You help train the new recruits who arrive each season, soft boys from Italia who think they're tough. You remember being that soft. It feels like a lifetime ago. Sometimes you try to remember what you wanted from life before you enlisted. You can't. That person doesn't exist anymore. The Legion is your family now. Your century is your home. The men you march with are the only people who understand what this life actually is. A rider comes from Rome. News from the capital. The emperor is dead. There's a new emperor. Your legion swears loyalty to him. Nothing changes. Emperors come and go. The legions endure. You're building a road when the next attack comes. Your century is providing security for the engineers who are surveying the route. It's routine work. Nobody expects trouble this close to the fortress. The warriors come out of nowhere. One moment the forest is quiet. The next, arrows are falling and men are screaming. You drop your tools and grab your shield. Form up. Your century creates a defensive square around the engineers. The attack is fierce but disorganized. These aren't professional soldiers. They're angry farmers with axes, brave but untrained. Your century holds position, shields locked. The warriors throw themselves at your formation. They die. More come. They die too. Eventually they run out of warriors willing to die. They pull back. You count 8 legionaries dead, 20 wounded, maybe 60 enemy dead left in the dirt. The math still favors Rome. That night in the fortress, you sit with your tent group, 8 men who've been together for 3 years now. You know them better than you knew your own family. You know who snores, who has nightmares, who's afraid of the dark, who writes letters to a girl back home who probably doesn't remember him. You share your rations. Someone tells a joke and everyone laughs too loud. You're alive. They're alive. Tomorrow you might not be, but tonight you are. That's enough. Your 6th year begins. You've stopped counting days. You count seasons now. Campaigns. Battles survived. The Legion marches north again. New orders. A permanent fort is being constructed deep in hostile territory. Your century will garrison it for the winter. The fort takes shape slowly. Wooden walls, watchtowers, barracks, storage buildings. You work on construction during the day. Stand watch at night. The locals watch from the forest. They don't attack. Not yet. They're waiting for winter when you're trapped and supply lines are vulnerable. You know this. Everyone knows this. Winter comes hard. Snow piles against the walls. The temperature drops until your breath freezes in your beard. Supply wagons stop coming. You're on your own now until spring. Rations are cut, then cut again. You're hungry all the time. Not starving, but hungry. Your body burns through everything you eat, just trying to stay warm. The attacks start in the 3rd week of snow. Small raids, testing your defenses. Arrows in the dark, fires set against the walls. Your century responds each time. Drive them back. Repair the damage. Wait for the next attack. A man in your tent group dies. Not in battle. He just doesn't wake up one morning. The cold took him in his sleep. You wrap his body in his cloak and bury him outside the walls. The ground is frozen. Digging takes hours. More men die as winter deepens. Disease, cold. One steps wrong on the icy wall and breaks his neck in the fall. The century shrinks. By the time spring arrives, you've lost 19 men. The supply wagons return with the thaw. Fresh troops, food, orders. Your century is being rotated back to the main fortress. You march out of that place and don't look back. The replacement century that takes your position looks young. They are young. You realize you're not anymore. 7 years in the legions. You're 25 years old and you feel 50. Your body is a map of scars. Your hands are permanently calloused. Your knees ache when it rains. You've killed more men than you can count. Back at the main fortress, there's a period of rest. Actual rest. No patrols, no construction. You sleep in a real barracks. Eat hot food. Some men visit the town that's grown up outside the fortress walls. Drink in the taverns. Pay for women. You go once and realize you don't fit there anymore. The civilians look at you like you're something dangerous. They're right. You are. You return to the fortress and stay there. A letter arrives. It's been forwarded through multiple postings, taken months to reach you. Your mother is dead. She died 2 years ago. Nobody thought to tell you until now. You read the letter 3 times. You try to feel something. Grief, sadness, anything. There's nothing. That life is too far away. Those people are strangers now. You burn the letter and return to your duties. Your 8th year. The Legion crosses the river for a major offensive. 3 legions together, 12,000 men. The largest force you've ever seen assembled. The plan is to crush the tribal confederation that's been raiding the province, destroy their villages, take hostages, make an example. It's a disaster. The tribes don't fight. They fade into the forests, burn their own villages before you arrive. Your legion marches for weeks through empty territory. No enemy, no supplies, no victory. Just endless trees and mud. Men start deserting. Not many. A few. They slip away at night. You don't blame them. The Legion turns back. The campaign is declared a success in the official reports. Everyone knows it's a lie. The tribes are still out there, still raiding. Nothing has changed except more men are dead. You're promoted again. Principals now. Junior officer. You lead a contubernum. 8 men who are your direct responsibility. It's strange being on the other side. You remember the officers you served under, the good ones, the bad ones. You try to be the good kind. Your men are young. They look at you the way you once looked at the veterans. Like you know secrets they don't. You do. The secret is, there are no secrets. You just keep marching, keep fighting, keep surviving. 1 day at a time. 9th year, 10th year. They blur together. More campaigns, more battles, more names added to the list of dead you carry in your memory. You've stopped writing letters home. There's no home to write to. The Legion is home. The men beside you are family. Nothing else exists. A massive attack comes in your 11th year. The tribes have united. Thousands of warriors. They hit the fortress at dawn, wave after wave. They have siege ladders, rams. They've learned Roman tactics. The battle lasts all day. You fight on the walls. Your gladius is slick with blood. Your arm is numb from swinging it. Men fall around you. The enemy keeps coming. You kill until killing becomes mechanical. Thrust, withdraw, thrust. Withdraw. Your mind goes somewhere else. Your body does the work. The attack breaks at sunset. The tribes withdraw. The ground outside the walls is covered with bodies. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Inside the fortress, you've lost a quarter of the garrison. The wounded fill every available building. The surgeons work through the night. You sit against a wall and close your eyes. You're not sure if you sleep or just drift. Morning comes. You're still alive. That's a surprise. It shouldn't be, but it is. Your time is almost finished. 16 years of service. That's the standard term. Some men sign on for another term. The bonus is substantial. Most don't. Most can't imagine doing this for another 16 years. You can't either. But you can't imagine leaving either. What would you do? Where would you go? You know nothing but this. The discharge ceremony is simple. Your name is called. You step forward. Receive your diploma. A small wooden tablet that proves your service, your land grant, your citizenship confirmed, your bonus. Enough money to start over. You're 34 years old. You've spent more than half your life in the legions. You walk out of the fortress with your discharge papers and your money. You're a civilian now, free. You make it 3 months. The money runs out faster than expected. The land grant is in a province you've never seen. You don't want to farm anyway. You don't want to be around civilians who don't understand, who can't understand. You re-enlist. The recruiting officer doesn't seem surprised. This happens a lot, he says. Once you're a soldier, you're always a soldier. They assign you to training duty. You're too old for the frontier now. Too many injuries. You'll teach the new recruits how to survive what you survived. You're good at it. You're hard on them. Harder than your trainers were on you. Because you know what's waiting for them out there. You know what they'll face. If you can make them harder now, maybe more of them live later. The years continue. You train cohort after cohort. Watch them march off to the frontiers. Some come back. Many don't. You grow older. Your hair goes gray. Your scars ache in cold weather. You never marry, never have children. The Legion is enough. One morning you wake up and realize you're 50 years old. You've been a soldier for 32 years. You've trained thousands of men, fought in dozens of battles, survived things that killed better men than you. You're not sure what it all means. If it means anything. You just know you did your duty. Served Rome, kept the frontier. That has to be enough, because it's all you have. It's all you are. A soldier of Rome. Nothing more. Nothing less. You retire for the final time at 53. The Legion gives you a small pension, enough to rent a room in a veteran's settlement outside a fortress in Gaul. The room is tiny. One window, a bed, a table. Your military pack sits in the corner. You never fully unpacked it. The settlement is full of men like you, old soldiers with nowhere else to go. You recognize the look in their eyes because you see it in your own reflection. That 1,000-yard stare. The way they sit with their backs to walls. How they wake at the slightest sound. You spend your days in the tavern, not drinking much, just sitting, listening to younger veterans tell stories about their campaigns. Sometimes you correct them when they get details wrong. Mostly you just listen. Their wars sound the same as yours. Different enemies. Same grinding brutality. At night you dream about the forests of Germania. The weight of your pack. The faces of men in your century who died 20 years ago. You wake up reaching for a gladius that isn't there anymore. Some days you walk to the fortress and watch the new recruits training. They look impossibly young, soft. You remember being that soft. You remember thinking you were tough. You weren't. None of them are. The Legion will fix that, or kill them trying. An old friend from your century tracks you down. He heard you were here. You sit together and don't talk much. You don't need to. He knows. You know. There's nothing to say that needs saying. He leaves after an hour. You never see him again. You're 58 when your body finally gives out. The decades of carrying impossible weight. The injuries that never healed right. The diseases, the cold, the hunger, it all catches up at once. You collapse in your room one afternoon. A neighbor finds you 3 days later. They bury you in the veterans' cemetery outside the settlement. Simple grave, simple marker, your name, your rank, your legion. Nothing else. No mention of the battles, the scars, the men you killed, the friends you lost. Just your name and your service. 2 other veterans attend the burial. They didn't know you well. They came because you were a soldier, and soldiers don't let their own go alone. They pour wine on your grave. Standard ritual. Then they leave. Life continues. The Legion continues. Rome continues. That's what you were. A component in a machine that ground men into dust to build an empire. You survived longer than most. That doesn't make you special. It makes you lucky or unlucky, depending on how you measure these things. This was the reality of being a Roman legionary. Not glory, not honor, just brutal, grinding survival, day after day, year after year, until your body broke, or the enemy killed you, or time finally caught up. The movies don't show you this part. They show you the battles, the victories, the triumph parades. They don't show you the 50-year-old veteran dying alone in a rented room, dreaming about roads he marched 40 years ago. You thought you could survive it. You couldn't. Nobody could. Not really. You could endure it. You could get through it. You could make it to the other side. But survive implies you came out whole. Nobody came out whole. The Legion took pieces of everyone who served, pieces you never got back. So no, you wouldn't survive as a Roman legionary. You'd endure. You'd suffer. You'd do your duty. And decades later, you'd die with nothing but scars and memories of men whose names civilians never learned. That was the deal. That was always the deal. Rome didn't promise you glory. It promised you 25 years of systematic brutality in exchange for citizenship and land you'd probably never see. Most men took that deal anyway, because the alternative was worse. Because Rome always needed more soldiers. Because the frontiers never stopped expanding, and someone had to hold them. That someone was you. Unremembered. Unknown. Just another name on a grave marker in a cemetery nobody visits. Just another soldier.